bring it in. Let's work on today's lesson. Okay, so today's technique of the week, we're working on the armbar from the full guard. Okay, so it's one of the kind of core movements from the full guard. So it can be applied in self-defense scenarios, in a sport jiu-jitsu match. Okay, so there's a lot of ways of setting it up, but I always like to show everything in a self-defense perspective, and then from there we can play around with, okay, if there's no punches being thrown, then, we can set it up a little bit differently, and we don't have to worry as much about getting punched in the face, okay? So let's start here where Curtis is in my guard, okay? Anytime somebody's in my guard and I'm worried about them punching, where do I want to have them? I want to have them clinch down in front of me where I'm wrapping their arms in their head. Okay, this is the phase 1 of the punch block series, okay? From here, it's very, very ineffective for Curtis to try to punch me. His right arm is very far away. His left arm is trapped in mine, okay? So it's very difficult for him to do anything, okay? A lot of times from here, he's going to try to swim his hands in. When he swims his hands in, what do I want to try to do? I want to try to move his head out of the way, swim his arm back, okay? So I want to keep him in this punch block series phase 1, okay? But a lot of times it's not going to always work. I'm not going to always just be able to re-swim and keep him in this clinch position. Okay, so there's going to come a time where he swims his hands inside, and he usually puts his hands on the person's neck, and he tries to push away and frame. Okay, you see this position right here? Okay, this is very common. All right, he puts his hands on my neck. He can either try to choke me from here, okay, or he can pin my head down with one arm and punch with the other. Okay, so you'll see this common. Okay, so from here, understanding that I don't have his posture, his hands are on my neck, I want to isolate those wrists with my hands. Okay, so with my thumb, a C grip, I want to grab his wrists. Okay, that's telling me that I know that he's not going to be able to punch me. All right, if he tries to pull away with one of his wrists, I'm stopping it. Okay, so just so we can do the drill now, he's going to keep his hands in this orientation. I'm going to control the wrists. Okay, I need to pick an arm that I'm going to attack. All right, I'm going to attack Curtis's right arm. All right, so now that same corresponding foot, I want to put on his hip, okay? Try to get the nice flat part of your foot, kind of where the arch starts. You want to put that in his hip. Don't just try to put the heel in the hip bone. It's more likely to slip off. So really put the flat part of your foot into his hip, okay? So it's giving me a nice platform to push off of, okay? Now from here, I need to create an angle, okay? It's usually very unlikely that I'm going to attack Curtis successfully while I'm staying straight in front of him. Okay, I need to get some type of perpendicular angle, okay? So from here, I'm here, I put the foot on the hip, okay? Making sure that this foot, I want to press my inner thigh up against that attacking arm. I don't want to leave my my knee open right here. It's too much space. He's going to maybe pull his arm backwards and he's going to push my foot down and he starts to pass my guard, okay? I don't want that, okay? So he's here, hands on the neck, foot to the hip, close the door, all right? I want to use this foot to change the angle of my body. So if I'm at 12 o'clock right here, I want to move my head so that it's at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, depending on which side you're doing, okay? To help facilitate that, as I push with this post foot, I'm going to have this other leg travel up high to his armpit. So here's the movement. Everyone see what happened? It's very important that this foot travels. It does two things. It breaks his posture, and it helps change my angle, okay? It's very hard to do it just without bringing this leg through, okay? If it stays down here, his posture is still up, okay? I'm not going to be very effective. So it's here, foot to the hip, close the door. I change the angle, and I bite. See how I'm biting down with this heel? You see how it's breaking his posture? That's the idea, okay? Now once I have his posture broken, I'm going to double up on the wrist that I want to attack. So his right wrist. So I'm going to come under, and I'm going to put two hands on his wrist, and I'm going to hold it like a baseball. Okay? Now from here, I bear all my weight with this leg. It's going to allow my left leg to be nice and light and free and swing over his head. Very important that I chop down on the neck. If I cross my ankles right here, it takes all the pressure off of his head, and he's able to use his head to drive into me, smash my hips, and pass my guard. Okay? It's very important that you chop down on that neck. So he's here. He's already in the choking position. 1, make sure the door is closed. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now in this position, I'm pulling my heels to my butt, and I'm pinching my knees together. It's effectively isolating his shoulders. Okay, so I have an isolated shoulder. I have an isolated wrist. Okay, now the fulcrum is the elbow. All I gotta do is make sure that I drive my hips straight up to the ceiling by pushing down with my feet. I don't want to push him away. See how I'm pushing him away? If he falls over, great, but usually they're not gonna just fall over. They're just gonna move away from you, okay? I don't wanna push him away from me. I wanna keep him close so that I know that my lever point is right above my hips, okay? So from here, feet go down, hips go up, and then I just keep his wrist pinned to my chest. Little bit of movement is all you need, okay? Slow, constant movement, okay? I don't want to get here and rip the arm, especially during training, okay? You're going to get very little. His arm is already straight. So all I need is a little bit of hyperextension, and I get the tap, okay? So nice, slow, consistent pressure with the elbow, and you get the tap, okay? So we're going to start here in this phase 1 position where I have his head wrapped with one arm, and I have his arm wrapped with another. He's going to swim both his hands inside onto my neck and pin me to the floor. Perfect. Isolate the wrist, foot to the hip, change the angle, double up on the wrist that I want to attack. The left leg swings over. See how close I was to his head? I didn't need to make a big looping motion. I'm just grazing the top of his head and chopping down. Pinch and squeeze, and I get the finish. Okay? Real simple. Any questions? All right, let's find a partner and let's work. Okay, so that's from a position where the person is on their knees, okay? A lot of times what's going to happen is they're going to try to stand up and really bear their weight on top of you, okay? So if I have Curtis here, I'm in Curtis's guard now, okay? And he has me in phase 1, okay? A lot of times when the person swims inside, they don't just stay right here, okay? If they do, awesome. But if somebody's really adamant on choking you, they're going to usually try to bear their weight on there. You know what I mean? You ever see this position right here? So now I can really bear my weight onto Curtis, and I have a lot more energy if I do decide to punch him. I can really pull his arm really far back and punch him, right? Okay, but he's isolating my hand, okay? So this is the next slice of this movement. Everything stays the same. Nothing changes with this movement, okay? Except that the person on top is stacking them, okay? So to make it easier for the person on top, I want to think about putting my weight on his neck or his shoulders, okay? Obviously, when you're doing it realistically, you're going to be putting your weight on his neck. But to stand up, I want to just kind of put my hands on his chest or in his armpits or something like that. So if he's here in phase 1, right, I bring my arms inside, and watch how I transfer my weight to him. See how it makes my hips nice and light? Now I'm able to walk up without feeling like I'm bearing all of his weight on me trying to stand up, okay? It's going to be very difficult for me to try to stand up without putting any weight on him. Imagine if I just putting my hands on him, there's no weight on him. But if I want to stand up, now I'm putting all my weight on my hips. And it's very difficult for me to stand up right now, okay? Putting a lot of pressure on your lower back, making it hard for you to stand up. But the second that I put my weight on him, see how it takes a lot of weight off my feet? Now I'm able to just walk up, no problem. Okay, so the person on top, to make it a little easier to stand up, that's what you want to do. You want to put a little bit of weight on top of them. They're going to be okay. They can bear it a little bit, all right? So again, he's here. I swim my arms inside, and then I put weight forward. See how my hips come away from my heels? Now I walk my hips up. Okay? Try to keep your guard closed, person on bottom. The second somebody walks up, if your guard opens up and your hips fall to the floor, then you know what I mean, you're done. You have no more attacks, you have no more guard. Okay, so try to keep your ankles crossed the whole time. Okay? That's going to be a hard part, but you'll get there. Okay, so now nothing changes with the technique, except that I have to be a lot more cognizant of keeping my hips nice and high. Okay, so we'll start here. He swims inside, and now he puts all of his weight on me, and he stands up. 1, 2, okay? Everything stays the same. Double up on the wrist. I still have to pick a foot, okay? But notice that if I just pick a foot and I'm not thinking about how I can keep my hips high, my hips are gonna fall, right? So now using that other foot that is coming up and chopping up high in the armpit, I want to really bite down on his hips. So if he comes back, okay, as Curtis stands up, 1, 2, the foot that doesn't go to the hip, watch how it bites. See how it's biting? See how it's keeping my hips nice and high? I'm not hanging out here forever, but all I need is a little bit of time. Now once my foot goes to the hip, I can use that foot to help keep my hips up high also. Okay, so they're both helping keep my hips high. Okay, you see how I'm staying nice and high right here? Now everything's the same. I change the angle, I move this up high, and I'm here. Boom. Everything stays the same. Pop the hips, and we're just doing it from a high position, that's all. Okay, let's come back, down to the floor, It's a little bit more uncomfortable, okay? But we deal with it. So he comes inside, hands in the neck, he postures up, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pinch, and I get the finish. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so now the next layer of learning jiu-jitsu is not just learning techniques, okay, and applying them, it's learning how the techniques can chain link together. Okay, so when they defend one effectively, a lot of times it opens up the opportunity for a second attack. Okay, so again, just knowing techniques by themselves is great and they'll work, but in a realistic live rolling situation, somebody knows how to defend the armbar, you know, or just instinctually pulls their arm out. They feel the pressure in their elbow, they just rip their arm out. Okay, it could be an instinctual defense. Okay, so I need to have a follow-up, so I don't just end up retreating back to full guard and I got to start from square one. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to defend the armbar, not technically, but a way to defend the armbar if the person isn't very tight with it. And then we're going to follow up with a triangle. Okay, we learned the triangle a few weeks ago, so we're going to retouch on it. I don't want to go too crazy in the details of how to finish the triangle, okay? And I want to understand just how to set it up from the failed armbar. Okay, so here's how it looks. Back here to my guard. Okay, everything stays. We're just going to do it from the knees. Okay, we're not. You can do it from the feet too, but it's a little easier to learn from the knees. Okay, so everything stays the same, right? I go 1, 2, 3, and then watch. As the leg comes over, maybe I'm not controlling the wrist good enough, or I don't have a good pinch of my my knees, right? So as I swing this leg around, he's going to pull his arm out, right? Now I don't have that arm anymore to attack, okay? This arm, I can't attack an armbar here. It doesn't work, okay? So watch what we're going to do, okay? I have a one arm in, one arm out situation, right? That's the basic concept for the triangle, all right? The only thing that I need is his head. Right? So, very important that the leg that's in the armpit, same idea. I'm keeping that pulling down. It's going to keep my hips nice and high. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to loop his head and cross my ankles together. Now I'm in the basic triangle trap. Okay? All right? From here, what do? Lift the hips, pass the arm across, collapse his posture, foot to the hip, walk my shoulders back, and then I change my angle. I lock up my triangle, and then I get my finish. Okay, so don't worry too much about the details. I'll try to come around and help you guys out to learn the details of the finish. Okay, but I don't want to, I don't want to focus too much on that. I just want to talk about how to use the failed armbar to set up the triangle. So again, here, 1, 2, I go to do it. He pulls the arm out. Okay, it's very important that I bite with this. If I don't, and I try to loop his head, look at all the space that I've created. All right, so I go back a step. Look, here, look, no space. No space between my hips and his chest, his shoulders. No space. Boom, right there. Once I have the head, pass the arm across, collapse, and then I got to do all my details from here. Chop, pinch, and squeeze, sorry.
Nice. No, that was excellent.
Okay, all right, any questions? Okay, let's give it a shot. I'm going to come around and help you guys out with the details of the triangle if you need.